All right, guys, before we start today's episode, I want to do a quick plug. On June 12th, I will be at Helium St. Louis for the Funniest Person in St. Louis contest. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of great comics that night lined up. Go out, vote for who your favorite is, even if it's not for me, but if it was, that'd be cool too. It's going to be a lot of fun. I know it always is every year. Helium's a fantastic club. They always do a good job of running the show. Then after that weekend on the 14th, I will be in Alton, Illinois at the Alton Winery, part of the Comic Invasion TV filming. So if you want a chance to be in the audience and be on TV, come to Alton, check that out. The next night on the 15th, I will be in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, my hometown, at the Port Cape. They have an upstairs bar. There's going to be a show. That will also be filmed and recorded for the Comic Invasion TV show. It's going to be a great show it's going to air all over the Midwest, Kentucky, Tennessee, Arkansas, Iowa, Kansas. All over the Midwest. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's put on by my buddy Jeff Batts. The very funny Mary Jane's going to be there as well. That is an actual comic, not just a drug. And we're going to have a great time. I know you guys are going to enjoy that show. It's going to be a blast. So come check it out. Be in the audience. Get your chance to be on TV. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Russler. Joining me this week is Jimmy Day. He's a comedian out of St. Louis. He just started his own podcast called The Back of the Room, filmed at the Green Room in the Westport Funny Bone. It's a great podcast. It's a lot of fun. We sat down. We talked about everything from football and baseball rules to South Park and Gooey Butter Cake. We had a great time, and it was a lot of fun. I know you guys are going to enjoy the episode. At first, when I saw that you'd fixed up the green room, I was like, oh, I hate it because I like kind of Westport being old and gross or whatever. But I was in there last weekend and I was like, oh, man, it actually does look like respectable in here now. Like, it's not just a damp, dirty, moldy, cave anymore. It was like, oh, look, it looks like someone actually loves it here.
Well, I appreciate it. You know,
you did a good job.
Some people probably miss the bright blue with the yellow squares, but
the random yellow squares, and I like the missing drop ceiling tiles.
The random sections of random sectional couches was a good thing.
Not interlocking or even sectionals that are like
a corner piece, and then a regular piece that wasn't from the same set.
And two middles.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, these don't even go together if I wanted them to.
Yeah.
I liked for a while there was like a roll of carpet that was always wet.
Yeah.
Always wet. For like months and years. You're just like, okay, cool. This is just going to stay wet.
It's a bit of an improvement, I think. I'm a little biased, but...
No, yeah. I like it. I was like, oh, now it actually looks like a green room. Okay. But it is weird, though, because now people actually want to hang out in there.
Yeah.
And before, the comics were like, well, if I stay in here, I'm going to get black lung. So I guess I'll go hang out at the bar. But gives them an excuse to actually go where they're supposed to. What else was I going to say? Your podcast, you want to plug real quick?
Yeah.
It's called Back of the Room?
It's called Back of the Room. We're in the back of the Westport Funny Bone.
Mm-hmm.
It's fairly new. Got 6 episodes out. Comedians mostly. I'm open to other guests if they're down to come on, but mostly it's been comedians so far. But, it's been going good.
You had J.R. Brow on there,
which
I thought was pretty... I saw that... might have been even this morning. I was scrolling through and I saw that you had him on an episode. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he was very funny. Nice guy.
I worked with him. I did New Year's Eve with him maybe last year. I don't know, year before, something like that. Normally when people are like guitar acts, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah, but no, he's
good.
He was so funny.
He'd be good for, I think, New Year's too, because he's got a little guitar, regular stand up, everything. He'd be
it was he made fun of me because we went on stage at midnight or like right before midnight to do the toast and everything, and I'm like, we're at the point where like when you're hosting or you're featuring, you go, you do your time, you leave, headliner show at that point,
Yeah.
But then when you went back up on stage, he's standing there, so I'm like, oh, he's the headliner, he's gonna take over, he's gonna do it. And then he looks at us and goes, hey guys, you remember comedy? Like that. And we were like, oh, yeah, does anybody have resolutions?
Yeah.
Like that. It was like, I've never been like put on the spot like that before, where it was like, do I just start doing bits? What do I do? How do I,
Yeah,
like,
that's a unique position to be in. Like, I've hosted before, the headliner's running late. So like, all right, do 15 or whatever. And then the feature was going to do more. He still wasn't there. I guess I'll just throw him under the bus. It was Chris Kattan.
Oh, no.
So he's a nice guy, but like he was running late that day. And it was an early show. It started at like 5 for some reason. So he was running late. They're like, just do 15 or 20 or whatever. So I think I did like 16, 17. Mike Anthony was on the show. He did like 30. And he still wasn't there. So like, all right, go back out and do another whatever. I was like, all right. And then I did. And then he finally showed up and came out. But I was just like, damn. That's not. I wasn't expecting to do this, but
it's kind of interesting that you brought up his name, because I've had multiple conversations with multiple comedians, not just in St. Louis, like people that travel, and they will bring up his name, and it's fun. It's fun. It's fun how many times it's like, oh, okay, how many times does this person get brought up in a positive light?
Yeah.
And how many times do they get brought up in a negative light?
Yeah. I love Night at the Roxbury, so I'm not going to talk any ill on him, and he was a nice guy, but I'm sure he could rub some people the wrong way, possibly.
Yeah. I love that movie.
Yeah.
But since I've started doing comedy, you hear about certain people, and you're like, I don't know if I'll watch this movie the same after this. That's good. We start off the podcast by
love you, Chris,
talking shit about a American icon and SNL comedy legend. But I don't know. It's just it is strange how reputations follow people.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, wow, everybody has this opinion. Okay, all right, interesting. Shit, there was something else I was gonna say. I forgot. I should have written this down. I was talking to Clay. Yeah, he showed up at like 2, and we spent 3 hours just like trying to riff and figure out sketches and write and stuff like that. And so I'm trying to switch over. So I had Molly in here, which for those of you that don't know, Molly and Jimmy are married. Are you as big of a Taylor Swift fan as?
Not quite. I'm almost as big of a Taylor Swift fan as her, but not quite.
Do you have a choice?
It's just on all the time. I'm hearing a lot of them in the background and stuff. Or if we're driving somewhere, she's like, "Oh, I'll pick a song." It's always Taylor Swift.
Oh yeah.
I got nothing against her. Seems fine.
Yeah, I don't hate her. Like that's the thing is like people say like you either love Taylor Swift or you hate her, and it's like no,
she's all right.
She's not. I'm not her demographic.
Yeah.
So I understand not every song hits me, but there are some songs where where I'm like I stay out too late. I hum it while I walk.
She's got some catchy songs.
Yeah, she's got some bangers. She's got hits.
Yeah.
I'm not doing a deep dive into her discography, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I'm not gonna. Some people are like, "Oh, I hate Taylor Swift." I'm like, how do you? You don't even know her. Like, how do you hate her?
Why are they showing her at the Chiefs game? I'm like, well, she's there, and she's like the biggest star in the world right now. So I don't really give a shit if they cut to her for 3 seconds.
I don't care. Why?
Like, whatever.
Oh, look, she's excited. Like, what?
He scored a touchdown.
I remember when when I was a kid, or maybe not a kid, but like I remember when Tony Romo was dating Jessica Simpson, and they did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And Jessica Simpson was not even close to Taylor Swift level, and so it's like, what? Why do people care so much?
I don't know, man. I do think I might be the best husband ever, though, because I did take Molly to the Alamo to see the Taylor Swift movie at 10 o'clock at night on her birthday.
That is.
It was me and Molly, and then like 5 college-age girls dancing around the entire. They were up by the screen. They had glow sticks. It was quite a spectacle.
It would be funny to me if like you were the most into it.
Yeah.
Where if Molly was like, Jimmy, sit down. You're causing a scene. You know, you're like, no, I can't contain it. You know.
This is my favorite.
I feel like Taylor Swift husbands are kind of like pets that have to wear costumes.
Yeah.
Where you're like, you know, like I didn't choose this life, but the person I'm with chose it for me, and
just
you know what? It's not terrible.
Yeah,
you know,
you're just along for the ride. You
yeah.
know? What are you
like,
gonna do?
Hey, this is what they're into. Yeah, It's also kind of like, I mean, it must be how my wife feels when I said I was getting into stand-up comedy. She was probably like, "Oh, fine," you know. Like I asked her one time when I was leaving, I'm like, "Where does stand-up comedy rank as far as like?" If I was into like LARPing or really into medieval times, like as far as like cool, where is comedy? And she's like, I don't think you want me to answer that. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I appreciate the honesty though.
Yeah, well, I've known you for quite a while now, and I don't think I've ever met her. So
no,
yeah. She's not around a whole lot.
I use the excuse that I like, I live 2 hours away from here,
true.
so people don't, people that she doesn't have a reason to come up very often. But the real reason is that like, I'll call her and be like, hey, I've got a show. Did you want to come? And she's like, I'd really like to stay home and watch true crime documentaries.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, yeah.
And there's a new Taylor Swift song that just dropped.
So. Yeah. That's my daughter.
Did you notice the lights just went off?
Yeah. They're on a timer.
Okay.
And the timer, if you look next to your head, there's a little green dot.
Okay.
The sensor is covered up by the...
I'm cool with it. I just wanted to make sure it was
That's
all right.
why I bought these lights. Because these lights are... That's why they have to stay on. Because if I move around enough, the lights will come back. But I don't know.
It's all good. The same thing happened at the Funny Bone last night. The stage light started flickering as soon as the host got up there. So it were on and off, just flickering like a problem. So, you know.
Oh, is this St. Charles?
Yeah. It went on for 2 or 3 more comedians, and everybody's like, what the hell? What are we going to do? I went over to like where the switch was. And they were kind of fucking with it.
Was it like half up and down?
It was on a dimmer, but it was like, they were like, it's hot. I'm like, you got to shut that off. It's like, there's going to be a fire. So they shut that off and turned the house lights all the way up. So the entire audience was lit, but the stage was completely dark. And that is a factor, apparently, because performing... I think they figured it out back in the day. I guess they're like, we need this completely dark, the stage lit up, because the other way around is a little weird.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know how to explain it, but
I can only imagine just performing in the dark to a completely lit up room.
I'm like, okay, well, that whole section didn't like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's the worst. That's the worst when you're because I did the Helium open mic. And luckily, their lights are so bright, you can't see anyone.
Yeah.
So, but the problem with that is that sometimes people, you know, if it's not a huge crowd or you're trying out a new joke, someone will, you know, they might laugh, but it's like a, or like a chuckle or something like that. But you can't hear it and you can't see it. And you're like, okay, there's no one here. I'm bombing. And you just go into panic mode. But... Yeah. Seeing everybody.
It was interesting. I thought I would get ahead of it. And, you know, I probably went like 10th or something. Mm-hmm. And, you know, completely dark stage. So I went up and grabbed the mic and then walked off the stage to like where everyone was sitting and started doing jokes. And that didn't go well either. They were just like, why the fuck is he doing this?
He's too close. Yeah. Too close.
I just did like half my set to the right, half to the left. And it's like, I thought it'd be in the light, you know, that's got to be the factor. And that wasn't the factor.
No. No. Sometimes there's just no victory to be had. It is fun to watch on nights like that, though, when people kind of go up with confidence. They're like, watch your friends bomb, and you're oh, I got this. I got this. And then you go up, and then you bomb, and you're like, I don't understand what happened. I did a show at Helium one time, and we were in the green room, and you'd watch people walk out, and they're like, watch. I got it. And then they'd come back in through the door, and they're like, I don't understand what happened. Like they just watched like a train wreck, you know, where they're like, I don't know how to describe it. It all happened so fast.
Yeah, it can happen. You know, mine went okay. Like nobody did great, but I'm blaming it on the lighting. You know,
it is weird how you after you've been doing comedy long. Because how long have you been doing it? Probably.
Like 9 years.
I was about to say like 10 years. Yeah, 9. I've been doing it about 6. And it takes a long time to learn how to deal with, hey, at best, this is going to be okay. You know? And that's not really your fault. It's not the crowd's fault. It's just
sometimes
how it's going to go. You know, like they can't. I keep telling people who just started comedy, like, look, man, they can't all be home runs, or it would be boring. You know, that's what makes them fun to watch. Is that you have to have a couple. You have to have a high pop fly that is just to easy out. You know? Like, well, next time, you know?
Yeah. You never know, man. It can happen anytime. Like, you can bomb at any time. You can do great other times, but sometimes you don't see them coming.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you could come and do this.
No, thanks for having me, man.
I don't know if for anybody who's just, tuning in for the first time, the whole idea behind it is anytime somebody says something's the best, it's just an opinion. There's no way to prove scientifically Jordan's better than LeBron, who's better than Iverson, so when someone says something's the best, it's just their opinion. So I thought I'd sit down and talk to some of my favorite people and just find out, what do you think is the best? There's no right answer. There's no wrong answer. It's just kind of makes for fun conversation. So let's get into easy one. What's the best way to tell if somebody's a bad person? Also, I've got some examples up here on the screen, like drinking while pregnant, leaving your shopping cart in the parking lot.
That's a big one.
Littering. Yeah, that's a big one for me. But it doesn't have to be any one of these. It's just a way to give examples. Because when I first started asking questions, I'd be like, what's the best movie you've ever seen? And then people are like, I just forgot every movie I've ever seen. But if you throw up suggestions, then they're at the very least, they're like, well, I haven't seen any of those, but the first one that comes to mind is blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Well, shopping cart.
Shopping cart, I'm doing a bit on it now, but I think that is just getting out of hand.
Oh, yeah.
It's steadily been climbing. You'd see 1 or 2 every now and then. Now there's fucking 20 in the Walmart parking lot.
I couldn't agree more. It drives me insane because it's you don't understand. If you keep leaving them out, Walmart's solution to this problem is to add more cart corrals, which then makes less parking.
Yeah.
Which then means you have to park further away, and then you still have to put your car. It's just it is the epitome to me of not my problem.
Yeah.
And I cannot stand that mentality
of
littering is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Littering, it's one thing to have if you have a bunch of trash in the back of a truck and it flies out on the highway, that's shitty. Hey, you probably should have taken care of that, but also
it didn't go from your hand to the ground.
Yes, but to roll down your window at a stoplight and just drop a combo meal out of your, oh my gosh, it drives me nuts.
Yeah,
but the shopping cart thing.
Yeah, I think if heaven exists, that's what they should ask. And when they're have you ever done this? Okay, well you're not getting in.
I think they keep a tally. I think they do keep a tally of yes, you did donate to charity, but for about a 5-year period, you never returned your shopping cart. So those really cancel each other out.
Have you seen the cart narc guy?
No.
You got to look it up. It's on, I guess it's on Instagram and probably all the social media stuff. But this guy dresses up in like a SWAT team looking thing, and it just says cart narc. Every time he like watches people, and he's got like a body cam thing on. Anytime he sees somebody leave a cart, he'll run up to them and he'll throw a magnet on their hood that says like "Lazy Bones, I don't take my cart back," and they fucking flip out. They're like, "Take that shit off my cart! I'm gonna kick your fucking ass." And then like he's just like, "You should have took your cart back. Take it back, and I'll take it off your car." And then he just fucks with them for like 5 minutes. It's pretty entertaining.
I mean, it sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to do it, but I mean, this definitely ends with him getting shot.
Oh,
right?
yeah. He's
like,
had guns pulled on him and, like, people, like, running at him to try to fight him, and he's always just runs away, and, like, it's pretty good.
That's always one of those things, like, I would love to be the guy that holds people accountable for their terrible behavior.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, oh, yeah, well, you're probably going to die. Like, someone's going to shoot you. But, I mean, die doing the Lord's work, I guess. I don't know. That's got to count for something.
I think one more I'll throw in there. Really, really bad drivers. Like, you're just going to kill somebody. I was driving home the other night. I was in the far right lane. Yeah. This car, ahead of me, maybe a quarter mile. I see them. They're kind of all over the place. I'm pulling up next to them. They just start drifting over into my lane. I laid on the horn for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And they didn't go back to their lane. They just kept coming over. So I had to slam on the brakes and go over into the shoulder. I was trying to roll down the window and just yell something at them, but Molly's like, "Stop it." It's like, these motherfuckers.
No, yeah.
It's like, they deserve it. Like, they're going to kill somebody.
My wife's the exact same way. She's like, stop. You don't need to do this. You don't need to correct them. And I'm like, what? If I don't do it, who's going to do it?
I usually don't get to that point, but that one was egregious. I was like, fuck these people. And I don't know where they went, right to the casino. They had to be hammered already, but I was pissed.
I saw I was driving on 55 one time headed south, and it's 2 lanes, and there's a semi in the right lane. I'm in the left lane trying to pass. He's texting and driving, and he starts coming over, and I was like honking, and like he did, and I had to like, I really had to shoot out above it, and then like he still almost went off the road, and I'm like, dude, you are driving 25,000 pounds. Like, you can't do that. Are you insane? You have a battering ram.
Yeah.
Like, you can't. That drives me nuts. People that, like, it's really bad up here, I think, is people that are, like, racing, but they for whatever reason, they like to leave their lights off. Mm-hmm. And you can hear them coming before you see them. And then they'll just shoot past you in your blind spot. And you're like,
the 2 to 3 car kind of just thing. Is that what you're talking about? Where they're kind of, I guess they're racing, but more just driving 90 on
more just
Highway
like,
70.
Oh, he's fast. I'm going fast too. And then you're like, what are you doing?
That's not great.
I will say, like, it is weird how in St. Louis, like, if a piece of your car falls off here, people just leave it. They're just like, well, it doesn't belong to me anymore, and they just take off. And it's
even
like,
if they got in a wreck that took out the whole side of their car, I'm like, oh, well, I guess this is what my car looks like now.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get it fixed. I'll just drive it like this.
They treat it the way people did like on like the open ocean, where they're like, well, it's gone. It's well, what do we do?
Yeah,
and it's like, no, you can't. You should pick it up. Like,
or go to a body shop. They got other replacement parts. You just got options.
Now you're driving down the road, and now there's just like an exhaust. There's like a whole muffler system just in the middle of the road, and you're like, okay, I guess I have to hit this.
Yeah.
Best cheap beer.
Not this one, but this is pretty tasty. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Best cheap beer. Oh man, I gotta go with Natty.
Oh,
that's all we drank in college and high school.
Yeah. Well, I never drank underage.
Yeah, I never drank underage.
No,
but I saw it in high school and. But would have drank it if I was 21.
Exactly. If I was a young boy and I only had, like, if I wanted 30 beers for $12, I mean, Natty or Keystone, those were definitely go-tos. I remember I don't know if you remember this, but when I was younger, the Keystone ads always liked to talk about how the can was insulated, and they were like, that's what makes it crisp. And I remember buying into that hook, line, and sinker. before somebody was like, dude, all of the cans are insulated.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, okay. Right. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
just terrible. Okay.
Do you remember Keith Stone?
Oh, yeah, always smooth. Keith Stone.
I was
yeah.
him for Halloween one year.
Nice. He had the mullet, right? He had a mullet.
I wore
and
a
like
wig
vest.
and a fake mustache. I guess I should have tried to grow a mustache, but I didn't think about it until it was Halloween. So I was just wearing all that shit and just carrying around a case of Keystone all night. It was a good time.
It sounds like, I mean, I bet
It made me more smooth than I actually was, I think. So
there's something about that. There's something about getting into character
Yeah.
where you're like, this isn't, I'm no longer Eric. I'm, you know, no, babe. Eric didn't say that last night. Keith said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Natty was the go-to, though. And in college, there was 2 gas stations right across from each other. And they got into, like, a war with each other just on cases of Natty. 30 packs of Natty. This one would be, you know, $14. Then this one over here would go $13.50. And they kept doing that until they got it down to, like, probably a nickel over what they paid. And I think the lowest they got was, like, $11 for a 30-pack.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was so great. We would just buy, you know, instead of getting a keg, we just get a bunch of,
Yeah.
you know, 30 packs. Like, yeah, it was like $100.
Yeah,
Enough beer for everybody.
It's cheap. It's terrible. It's going to get warm in like 4 minutes, but you know what? It gets the job done.
Yeah.
That's all. I remember that being the only. Now I can't really see. As I get older, I do get, I don't know, I get kind of frustrated with some of the people I know because it's like, oh, I want to go get a Himalayan milk stout and it's got to be, you know, like, you're just like, come on, man. Can I just get a Bud Light? Like, can I just get a.
Yeah.
That's the reason I go for these brands of beers is because I know what they're going to taste like.
Yeah.
It's not expensive. I know it. It's just familiar. Or I can take a chance, get one of these other beers, and it might be great, or it might taste like dog shit.
Yeah.
You know? Like some of these craft beers, people go on and on about how great they are, and then you're like, this literally just tastes like someone peed in a boot and then poured it in this glass. I smell foot fungus and diabetes. Like, I don't understand.
It's an extra hoppy IPA. I'm like, I think it's hoppy enough. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not an IPA fan anyway, but it's like, what are you doing here? Like,
how do you tell if it's, I've never once seen someone be like, oh no, this is just a bad beer. You know, like.
never in one of those places. And they
No.
never have any of these beers at the breweries. Like, well, we got this. This is our lightest beer. That's usually what I'd ask. Like, what's your lightest, most regular beer? And they're like, oh, we got this one. And if I don't like that one, I'm probably not going to like most of them.
There are great, I mean, don't get me wrong, there are great craft beers like Civil Life here in St. Louis. It's probably my favorite. Every time I try something from there, I'm like, oh yeah, this is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But if I go somewhere else, I don't.
It's a gamble. You're rolling the dice.
Yeah,
you never know what
it
you're
really
gonna
is. It really is.
Yeah.
Just a. I mean, it's like, all right, well, this is either gonna, for sure, it's gonna cost me $7 for one beer, but also I might enjoy it, or I might take a sip and go, like that. It is fun to watch people who claim to love craft beers sip a beer and then watch them kind of like make like a weird, they like shudder a little bit. You're like, oh, you like that? You like that citrusy hop or whatever you got? Like,
it's a little much for my palate, but you know, that's it's somebody's gonna love it.
Somebody loves it.
We should just make a beer that's terrible, just skunked beer from, you know, the runoff of Anheuser-Busch, and then sell them to these craft places. People will try it once, but you'll sell enough of them to make some money.
Isn't that what like Keystone is? I thought Keystone.
Probably, yeah.
Somebody told me that Keystone is like the bottom 5% of a vat of like Coors Light.
Okay.
That they like it's like getting to the bottom where it's like maybe still got some stuff in it, you know, and they're like,
that's why it's like so much water, I guess.
Yeah,
it's like mostly water
because everything else like rose to the top and was pumped out first.
It makes a lot of sense,
and
actually.
I don't, maybe I might be full of shit. I don't know, but somebody told me that Keystone, Natty Light, like some of these other beers, that's what they are. It's just like, hey, this is the bottom 5% of another beer.
I believe it.
Yeah. Best store-bought cookie.
Oh man. Those pink white ones suck.
Okay, I see. That's why I threw those in there, because I don't know what I don't know what they're called. B, people either love them or hate them.
They're terrible. Like they're always dry. Like you bite into it, and if you don't have milk, you're gonna like choke.
The icing is like super sweet, but in that artificial like and then they're even if they're like fresh, they just crumble everywhere.
I don't think they've come out of the oven not fresh. They're just like like fucking dry horseshit, and they have them everywhere. You go to Schnucks, you go anywhere, they're gonna have those in the little plastic things.
Walmart, Deerbergs. And there are people who will buy them religiously.
That'd be our beer. Like, this is at every place. People are buying it, but it's terrible.
The Keystone Light of cookies.
Oh man.
Personally, I don't like Oreos. I know a lot of people get mad at me. I actually said that on a podcast one time, and somebody commented on it and was like, you should just fucking kill yourself. And I was like, okay, man, what are you, Mr. Oreo? Like, that's...
I like Oreos, but it's like, if you don't have milk, then don't bother.
Yeah.
Like, because you got to dunk it, or it's too dry, and the cream is the only part that's any good.
I'm not even, like, a huge fan of, like, when you know how they'll like blend it up and they'll put Oreo like on a cheesecake or like in a crust or something,
or
like
McFlurry.
Yeah, like even then I'm kind of like, it just tastes gritty to me. I don't know. I never thought it was like, they're like, it's a chocolate cookie biscuit. And I'm like, is it chocolate or is it just brown? I feel like it's just brown.
Yeah. I mean, Chips Ahoy are good. I guess I would go with them. Store bought. I don't know if it's a cookie or not, but they have these things in gas stations. Zingers. You ever had a zinger?
Yeah, I've seen those. They're Hostess.
It's like a little cake roll thing with filling and like chocolate or vanilla icing on top. I don't know if it's a cookie, but they're pretty damn good.
Yeah, I am. I'm well versed in the snack cake section. I think that like as far as when it goes like Hostess, Little Debbie, who else makes some? Like Entenmann's.
Yeah.
You always get those. Like I think Hostess just across the board dominates.
I think so too.
Little Debbie, man, that makes me sad. Whenever I see someone like, ooh, Little Debbie, I'm like, oh, okay, you had a rough childhood. Yeah. Entenmann's, that's a big East Coast thing, but by the time they make it out here and they're on a gas station shelf, like you can see like it's always wet on the inside.
Yeah.
When you look at the bag, you're like, why is this wet? How is it wet inside? Like I don't. It's just do they box these up in like a rainforest and it's just humid or
that shipping time will get you, man. Or if it's on the shelf too long, you can get a bad whatever. You can get a bad zinger if you wait too long.
Oh yeah,
but you just gotta. You never know with gas station food. But my dad will still eat Nutty Bars. I don't know where the fuck he finds them.
Nutty Bars.
They're shitty like sticks. That are like waxy and like just wafers with like peanut butter and chocolate. He eats those all the time. I'm like, why are you eating these? They're like 1,000,000 calories and they're terrible. So eat something else for breakfast. You could eat bacon every day and you'd probably be better off than this bullshit.
Breakfast.
Yeah, hell, eat one for breakfast. I'm like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Like if he's on his way home from work, you know, he's like, oh, I'm gonna stop and get a Nutty Bar. Like that's one thing, but
there's just boxes of them in the pantry. I'm like, this is a shitty food. Stop it.
Now, are those the ones? Are those the ones that are like shaped like peanuts?
No, these are just like the long square. There's a 2-pack.
Okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And it's just like a shitty cardboard covered
wafer
thing. They fucking suck.
Yeah. For a second, I thought you were talking about Nutter Butters, but those now I know exactly. Yeah. No, the actual Nutty Bar is the name, and that's a rough one.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing there.
Where was I the other day? Someone bought a pecan log or something like that, but it's just a thick log of nougat with chopped up pecans.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
And like they took a bite and it like did the long stretchy thing, and then they just chewed that bite for like 15 minutes, and I'm like, that can't be. You can't be enjoying this. There's no way. I never liked the chewy Chips Ahoy. I always thought those were weird.
There's something in there that's not
You
good
can't,
for you.
Exactly. Like why
To stay chewy?
it's left on a shelf for 7 months and it's still
Yeah.
and it's not even really chewy. It's more like bendy.
Yeah.
You're like, what? I don't know. I do like the chunky Chips Ahoy, the brown package.
Those are good.
Those were always my go-to. But man, they turn and they turn quick.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is past its prime. Hold on. Let me see if I can get. Oh, we've got St. Louis inventions. Best St. Louis invention: gooey butter cake, toasted rav, or the waffle cone. Which I need to add more to it.
Didn't even know the waffle cone was from here, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, the World's Fair that
Okay.
everybody likes to brag about, the World's Fair. That's where there was a guy who was making waffles and nobody wanted to buy them. And so he just started folding them up and putting stuff in it. And then people were like, this is the greatest invention ever. And he's like, yeah, that's totally what I meant to do.
Oh, man. Out of those three, I guess I would say toasted ravioli.
Yeah, you almost have to go with that because it's like, how often do you eat a waffle cone?
Yeah.
Even when I go, like, even if I like go out with my kids for ice cream, I'm like, can I just get a cup? I don't know. Like a waffle cone always, when you get a waffle cone, you're always playing defense, I feel like, because you're like constantly have to like check and make sure it's not dripping down the back, you know?
Yeah, where you have the son and dad duo of where the kid is a little too young to handle the waffle cone.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, get around the right side.
Yeah.
You're going to let it get all over your pants. What are you doing?
At first I thought you meant a dad and a son sharing a waffle cone.
Just
And I
a
was like,
couple licks and
that might be the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. It's like, it's in the middle and they're both just attached. Like, ugh.
yeah, that would be bad too.
Well, what are they, dogs?
Yeah, I mean, all of these are good. Like gooey butter cake's really good, but I don't seek it out really.
Gooey butter cake.
It's got to be. They don't even probably put calories on there because it's got to be so fucking high.
No, it's probably one of those things where it's like, just don't ask.
Yeah.
Right? It's gooey butter cake. Like just.
There's 9 sticks of butter in each slice,
And then we that's all we did is we put 2 eggs, 9 sticks of butter, and then about 1.5 pounds of powdered sugar. So enjoy, you know?
Yeah, comedians always ask when they come into town, they're like, is there anything I should try? And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like, we got emos. It's all right.
Pork steaks. I just found out recently that that's a St. Louis invention.
Really?
The pork steak. And they don't, for those of you that don't know, it's a Boston butt cut into steaks. And
kind of thin.
Yeah. People are like, oh, pork chops? Like, no. Mm-hmm. This is much different, much better. But I had a buddy visit last year from New England. And we were like, oh, we could grill. And I didn't want to go get steaks because they were so expensive, you know. But I was like, oh, let's just get pork steaks. And he was like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, man, this is fantastic. And he was like, I love this. He's like, I love this more than a normal steak. I was like, yeah, you're welcome.
I'm learning stuff. I didn't know the pork steaks or waffle cones are from St. Louis.
I've learned it just from doing this podcast.
Okay.
Is people are like, oh, well, and then they tell you about the St. Paul sandwich and all that stuff, and you're like, oh, St. Louis isn't so bad. But
all this stuff's good, but I don't hype anything up.
No, I would.
If somebody comes to town, I'm like, yeah, these are pretty good.
Somebody recently came to visit, and they were like, oh, well, where should I go to get the best gooey butter cake? And I'm like, man, I don't order that.
Yeah.
Like, you can go to a grocery store and pick one up to try it for sure. And the first 3 bites, delicious. 4th bite, you're like, oh, I kind of hate myself. You know, like it's one of those things.
3x3 square is all you need, I think, of a gooey butter cake.
It is funny to watch someone who's never had one before and watch them cut their own slice. And you're like, oh, that's way too big. You're going to be miserable in about
You want to go squares and not pies. Pie slices on that.
But then they ask, like, oh, okay, what restaurant makes a good one? You're like, nobody orders that when they go out. Like, you don't. It's a fun thing to get once a year, you know?
It's like Aunt Kathy brought the gooey butter cake.
Oh, yeah.
It's something like, all right.
Thanks, Kathy. We appreciate it. Best football movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I should put some suggestions in. Like,
I'm like, I probably like all football movies.
Yeah.
Like even the ones that aren't amazing, like the people not everybody would say I probably like The Replacements. You remember that one?
Oh, I love that movie.
That was a good one.
I think that's honestly probably top 3 of football, in my opinion.
Yeah, Keanu. That was a good movie. Keanu is my guy, man. I'll watch anything with him. But Remember the Titans. That's always a great one.
I think Remember the Titans has one of the best soundtracks of any movie.
Yeah.
It's every song is like from that 60s, 70s era, and it's like the music plays a role in the scene. Like I love that. I think have you ever seen Any Given Sunday?
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my favorites.
That's a good one. I haven't seen it in a long time. I should rewatch that.
Al Pacino, Jamie Foxx, LL Cool J, Dennis Quaid, Cameron Diaz. Like it's just that movie's awesome. People forget about that a lot. Al Pacino gives one of the best like locker room speeches of all time or whatever. Where it's like, even me, a 34-year-old man, I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Like I could still play.
Yeah.
I could do it one more inch,
Everybody throws Rudy out there, which is good, but it's a little overrated, I think.
I hate Rudy so much. I can't say, I love bringing this up to people who are like Notre Dame fans. I'm like, it's a terrible movie, and it doesn't even make sense. Like, I guarantee you that none of those college players, like, that scene where they all like put their jersey on the desk and like, this one's for Rudy, coach. Like, this one's for Rudy. Never happened.
No, that never
happened. You're telling me a bunch of seniors in college who are trying to get to the NFL are like, yeah, let's give this 90-pound half retarded kid a chance. Like, no, first of all, it's dangerous. Like he shouldn't have been out there.
Yeah.
I always feel bad. I don't know. Do you remember Radio?
Yeah.
Okay, so great movie, great message, sentiment, whatever. But when I was in high school, there was a kid who was developmentally disabled, and he wanted to be on the football team. And my coach had seen the movie Radio and was like, well, I'm going to do this. This is going to be my shot at glory. He had first of all, the kid did have some developmental issues, but he also wasn't quite as disabled as he let people believe. Like, he would do that thing where, like, around girls, he would, like, play it up and then touch them inappropriately and then walk into the locker room and be like, hey, you see the way I just grabbed? And you're like, all right, man, hey. But nobody ever believed me. Like, no, I couldn't. Everybody just was like, oh, this dude's mean. He's being a hater to this handicapped guy. And it's like, no, you don't understand. He's not that bad. Like, he's
FM radio, not AM radio.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a hard. From where you're coming from, though, that's a hard stance. But I mean, I believe you.
But at the same
you're
time,
like, I don't know about this guy. Like,
you're like, guys, he's like sexually assaulting people and just getting away with it, and I'm the bad guy because I'm pointing it out. And they're like, come on, man, come on, leave him alone. But they let him suit up for one game. And man, he got rocked, like, because he was a big guy, he wasn't small and frail. He was a big guy, but he didn't understand
know how to play football.
How football works. And they hiked the ball, and man, some guard did a pulling, sweep and just clobbered him. And it was one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, no, they're not making a movie about this. And it was just a real sad, dark moment. And so, I don't know, every time I think about that movie, I just think about this kid, and I'm like...
The guy that got tackled by Rudy probably killed himself, too. You're just like, you got tackled by Rudy? What the fuck, man?
Come on.
I
wonder if it's one of those things where, like, he tripped a little bit, and that's how Rudy got to him.
They took some liberties with that movie, I'm sure.
Have you ever been around D1 athletes and seen, like, just how much better they are at sports?
Oh, yeah.
Like when I was in the military, I had an officer who had played D1 football and then he wasn't going to make the pros, so he went into the military. And we were all out there, and, we were all like high school stars. And then we got around him, and we're like, oh, this is a completely different animal. Like,
Yeah.
the way he could move and stuff, like, no one could catch him. No one could do anything. So to imagine there's 20 of those on the field
Yeah.
and then one normal guy, like,
It's not going to go well.
come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's the only reason you got there is because he slipped, I just feel like, I don't know if you know, there's the comedian named Aaron Weber out of Nashville. He's got a really good joke about Remember the Titans and how they Disneyfied it. And I don't know, I always think about it when somebody brings it up because I loved that movie so much. And then after I heard that joke, I went back and watched it and I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that doesn't make sense. Like,
Yeah, a lot of those movies, they're based on a true story. They're not.
yeah, oh, yeah.
They're not
loosely based
very
on a true
loosely
story.
on
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of them, yeah.
What do you think is the best part of a football team? The passing game, run game, defense, special teams?
What makes the team good?
Yeah, what is the most essential part of a good football team?
Oh, shit.
Because, you can't have – you've probably seen it all the time where a team is, like, crazy good on offense and their defense is garbage.
Yeah.
And it always goes bad. Or, vice versa.
Yeah, I didn't play football, but I love it and watch it all the time. It's like, my high school basketball coach always says defense. He always said defense wins championships, and that's more. It might be the defense.
Yeah,
you got to have a good quarterback too. If you have a shitty quarterback, it's very hard to win a Super Bowl. It's been done a few times, but the defense has got to be way better than everyone else in the league.
Unstoppable force. Yeah. I think that the special teams really are the most underrated because how many games come down to at field goal or getting a good punt or a good punt return or can really change the tide of it. And I don't know. Special teams to me is always one of those things where people overlook it until it's the game's on the line. And then it's like, hey, we need a 67-yard field goal. You think you got it? And it's like, I guess we'll find out,
some of these XFL guys might be getting called up at these fucking long field goals they're hitting.
I forgot all about that, but
we lost the first game to two back-to-back 60-something yarders. It's just like, what?
That was what that was a great part of the replacements.
Yeah, the kicker guy, yeah.
They were like, hey, who are we going to get to kick? Let's go to Wales and get this soccer player who can kick a ball 100 yards.
Yeah.
Like, all right, sure, why not? Too bad he had a deplorable gambling problem or whatever. But I was thinking about this the other day. I don't have a slide for it. But if you were going to add a rule to a sport to make it better or make it more entertaining, like, what do you think the best rule you could add?
I've said this before, and this is probably not going to be taken well in St. Louis. I like hockey. I didn't really grow up watching it much. My dad wasn't really big into hockey.
Right.
We didn't come to Blues games. But, I like it now. I like going to the games and stuff. I'm not the biggest fan ever, but I like it. They don't score a lot, Might be 1-0. 2-3 to 1 or whatever. How about when there's a penalty, you're on the power play, they throw another puck out there.
Oh.
2 pucks at the same time.
That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh.
One less guy on their team, 2 pucks. If you don't score then, you're fucking up.
That's awesome. I love that idea.
Yeah.
The one I came up with recently was for basketball, reverse the point system, the scoring system. So anything outside the 3-point line is now 1 point. Anything inside inside the 3-point line, just like a quick pop shot, just whatever, still worth 2. But layups and dunks are now 3 points. So the game's on the line. You've got to charge in. Like, because I remember what made basketball so much fun for me in the 90s was watching, like, Dennis Rodman and the Pistons, like, fight it out in the paint under the, you know what I mean? Like, imagine, I feel like basketball has gotten a lot of flopping lately. I don't know if you've seen it, but it seems like guys are getting hurt very quickly and then unhurt just as quickly. And you're like, all right, I want to see some battles. You know, like I just think that if you had someone, you know, game on the line, you're down by 6. You've got someone at the other end of the court trying to like cherry pick and get some quick, you know, a quick dunk or a quick, you know, quick just like finger roll layup that's going to be worth 3 points. You're going to have a defensive person down there, like, and they're going to be slamming bodies trying to, like, you got to fight for it, you know? And I get annoyed sometimes when I watch people taking 3-point shots from like the half court logo, and you're like, all right, man, it's impressive that you can do that, but after a while, like,
yeah, there's a lot of that going on now. Like a lot of, you know, Steph Curry and those guys and that all those wins, everybody's shooting threes now. And I know what you mean. Like I like basketball is my game. That's what I played in high school and stuff. And I was more of a shooter towards the end, like junior, senior. So I don't know if I'm on board with your point system, but I do get what you're saying about, you know, the flopping. They tried to make a rule this year or last year to help with that, but it still happened a lot.
I haven't.
It's helped a little, but it's still a lot of flopping, and there isn't. It's not as physical by any means as it was.
I think that's why. I mean, you just said it a little bit ago that you're not a big soccer fan.
Mm-hmm.
That's my problem with soccer.
Yeah,
is I can't get into it because not only is flopping, like it's encouraged. It's actually like a strategy. Like, hey, we need you to flop so that way we get some extra time at the end of the game to make up.
Yeah. Did you watch that David Beckham documentary thing?
I didn't see it.
I don't know why we watched it, but Molly was like, let's watch this. So we started watching it, and David Beckham was like one of the best players in the world, and there was a play on, I don't know how soccer works. I don't like soccer, but like it was a big game, and he fell down and he kicked his foot up and hit a guy like barely, and they kicked him out of the game, and then they lost that game, and he was getting death threats and all this shit. I'm like, why the fuck did he get kicked out for that bullshit in the first place? And like, he's still really good. I mean, he was getting death threats for like 10 years. They were like, you piece of shit, you cost us the who gives a fuck bowl or whatever it was.
Also, it's so confusing to try to follow because they have so many different leagues and so many different, like, I loved Ted Lasso, so I was like, oh, maybe I like soccer now. Like, I see the skill involved, like the way people can kick and curve the ball and the amount of like athleticism and cardio it takes. Like, that's super respectable. But then I just watched somebody get like, I mean, tapped, just barely tapped, and they rolled around for 45 seconds, and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah,
like, all right.
3 balls in soccer, I think. They need 3 balls out there at the same time. And
3 balls. Yeah. And if you're on the ground for more than 5 seconds, like you have to sit out for like 10 minutes or something. So it's like, get back up, hurry. We need you on the field.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm sure if I've got some cousins that live in the UK, and they're going to watch this and be like, what are you talking about? They're going to like lose their minds or whatever about it. But it's just like, ugh, come on, Europe, be gayer. You know, like just soccer. I don't know. But I do like what they did with baseball. The pitch clock.
Yes, that was a great idea.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
I've said it before, but my father-in-law is big into baseball, and he's an attorney. And so I like to make fun of him. I'm like, well, you know, baseball was just invented for math nerds to get sunlight, right? You know, like that's the only reason it exists. And I can't stand the amount of like math and percentages. I'm like, just hit the ball. Come on. Like,
the whip and the wrist and the whatever and all the I don't get into
his
it.
His percentage is 0.45% lower than it was last year when he was you're just like, all right, man, just
all I know is they fucking suck this year.
It's really hard.
It's really frustrating.
I get a little annoyed with football as well because they'll break down. They're like, this is the average yards he got while running in an indoor stadium in September in 2021. And you're like, why do we need to know that?
Yeah, that's too much.
Why do you need to know? Just, hey, he's good. Yeah. Like, that's what we should say. Like, hey, this guy's pretty good. Yeah. This guy's quick. Whoa, we should watch him.
It's good advice. Yeah, I mean, I went to a game 2 weeks ago. Was in the Champions Club. You ever done that?
Mm-mm.
My brother had an idea like last year. He was like, let's all go. We'll take grandma. We'll take our parents. We'll take everybody. $150 tickets. I was like, God damn. Yeah, but we get there, and it's pretty sweet.
Where is the Champions Club? Is it like...
It's like third base, kind of box level, but it's kind of like all open seating. They had like all-you-can-eat buffet, all-you-can-drink, full bar, like whatever you want. Seats are good. Like you walk out the door and there's 10 rows of seats. You can sit there and watch the game. So I got my money's worth. Like I was drunk and very full. So they sucked. They lost to the fucking White Sox. So that part sucked. but that part was cool. Like to do it like once. And then you think about it, your ticket's $50, your beers are $15 probably, so you get your money back out of it. But take your wife's dad there, and he'd probably love it.
Oh yeah, I might. I've always wanted. My aunt, when I was like 10, had something. She worked at the hospital up here at Barnes, and I don't know if she won something or if they gave her tickets or whatever. But anyway. We got to sit in the green seats, like right behind home plate.
Oh, damn.
In like the second row. And they have like a server that will just come and bring you you could get 7 hot dogs and 10, whatever. And if you're old enough, you can drink beer. And stuff. And I've always wanted to go back there because I remember as a kid being like, this is the greatest. I don't even have to leave my seat. They're going to bring me wings. This is awesome, And I want to go back. I would love to go back to that because I think that would be the best way to do baseball.
Yeah, I've never been behind the plate, but that would be awesome.
Sometimes it's like, man, I really want to watch this game, but also I'm thirsty, and I know I'm going to miss 3 innings by going to get one water that's $17.
Yeah, we scored 1 run, and Molly left to go to the bathroom right when Contreras hit the home run.
Oh, no.
You missed the only thing we did that was half decent.
You missed the one good part of the entire game. But, yeah, I do like that they added the pitch clock and they made the bases a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like there should be something like if you're not running to first, like sprinting through, that should be a penalty of some sort, At least maybe not like in the game, but like your team should penalize, especially with how much you get paid. Like, hey, if you're not sprinting through the bag on first, you're going to lose $500 or
if it's going to be close or just all the time.
I mean, all the time. Like, why not? If you
hit a blooper that's going to be a single, I don't know. I mean, you probably got time, but I like the hustle too.
But who does I don't remember who this guy plays for. I think it was. I want to say it's the Guardians. De La Cruz. He's a newer player. He's only been around a couple seasons, but they played him in a game last year. Man, I wish I could remember who he played for. But he ended up stealing like 4 bases in one game. And I remember it was so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Even though he was on the other team because he was like hustling his ass off and you're like, this is cool. I like that. Like, I wish you weren't doing it to my team, but it is fun to watch, and it makes you realize like, oh wow, I kind of wish my guys were trying a little bit harder. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't hit a baseball to save my life, so to sit here as like a fat armchair expert and be like, you guys should try harder. Like,
No, I'm doing the same thing. Like I played when I was a kid, and then when they started throwing the ball hard, I was like, I don't think I can hit that anymore.
yeah, I was out very quickly after what was it, coach pitch or whatever, they were like underhand toss it to you. I did see something the other day that was breaking down the math behind like how fast your brain has to work in order to hit a pitch, because the ball's moving 95 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You're 90 feet away or whatever. You have
It's like a tenth of a second or some shit.
0.13%, 3 points of a second to decide whether or not to swing. And when they break it down like that, you're like, oh, wow, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, you think about all these guys like Pujols, who was great at hitting home runs.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow, you're like really good. Like really. I knew baseball was hard, but like you're really hard. Okay. Let's skip the best that. I'm with you. I didn't get into hockey until the Rams left, and that's when I was like, okay, I need to get something. Okay, best adult animated show: Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park.
South Park by a mile.
Oh yeah, I mean,
yeah, that's been my favorite. Probably might be my favorite show of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up there if it's not. I've been watching it since it started, and it's just those guys are fucking geniuses, man. I
didn't realize how quickly they turn the episodes around. I watched that documentary, and that gave me a whole new level of respect for how good it is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Matt and Trey, man, they're just like people that don't watch it or don't appreciate it. They're just like, oh, it's just a stupid cartoon. I'm like, these guys are two of the most fucking smart comedic minds of like the last 100 years.
And the consistency of doing it for 20 plus years and still being on top of it, I think is really like, that's underestimated.
Yeah.
How they can, and people have, it's so good now. They've set such a high bar that whenever something happens on that show, people are just like, well, oh, it's South Park. I mean, of course, oh, it's South Park. It's like, no, you don't understand how good this is. Like,
there's interesting, hilarious takes on everything. Like, I mean, even if an episode isn't about politics or a certain topic, it's hilarious. But like, their takes on COVID and the elections and just everything that has happened in the last 25 years is like just crazy to think about.
What would you say the best episode of South Park is?
Like, if you had
to pick one, I mean, I know it's impossible because there's 400 episodes or something like that, so you have to.
I don't know if I could pick one. Like, there was one that came out in college that we watched like over and over again. It was so stupid. It was like when memes were coming to be popular, and Cartman was like doing different memes and stuff. They would do Faith Hilling. He would just go like this and like dance around, and they were like doing like the T-bowing and like all that dumb shit. Like, people would be T-bowing, and then like a train would be coming. They're like, "Did you get the shot?" And then they'd get hit by the train because they wanted to get like the stupid meme or whatever. That one, it was so stupid, but it's hilarious if you watch that one. But there's a ton of them that are just great. One
of my all-time favorites was the World of Warcraft episode.
That's a good one, yeah.
I remember in high school, I had this back before it was standard for all cars to have like a screen. I had this thing where you turn your car on, it would come out and then fold up.
Oh, those were dope.
And oh man, now I didn't have any speakers or anything, so the system still sounded bad. But it was like $400, and that was the thing I saved my money up for. But my buddy would worked at a movie theater, so he would rip a bunch of movies and put them on, like writable DVDs. So I remember like 300 came out, and 2 days later I had it in my car to watch. Shit. But he did a bunch of South Park episodes, and the World of Warcraft one was one of them. And man, we used to just like, sometimes I would get to school early and just sit in my car and watch South Park. And I remember that episode making me laugh so hard of like just like they're trying. There's some guy who's like super overpowered and nobody can beat him.
Yeah.
And Randy has to find a sword, like a special
Yeah,
sword. And then he goes through this whole thing of like trying to get it. And then when they finally are like together in the game, he's like, okay, now how do I hand things to you? And it's like, all right, open control and then go down to your inventory. Like, it was just so funny.
The sword of 1,000 truths.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so, oh man, it was so good. And then Randy gets killed and he's making like the death noises, and then it cuts to him out of the game in a Best Buy going, ah! And people are just staring at it. Like, it's so funny. It's so
Randy's.
funny.
I mean, I always the ones that he's been more of a part of it lately, but like the ones where he was in it, like the one where they're playing Little League and he's fighting all the dads in the stands, and he's like, he finally, like, they don't want to play, and then like he finally, like, the Bat Dad is like this huge guy at the finals, and he beats him, and then get kicked out of the league or whatever, and like they're all happy, but Randy's the man.
I think that Randy, so my theory about it is the reason Randy has become more of a central character is because Matt and Trey are getting older.
Yeah.
And they're starting to identify more with like the parent. Like when they were young and 20, they wanted to be the bad mouth little kids, you know? And then now as they're getting older, they're starting to be like, they're like, let's explore.
We're Randy now, yeah.
I loved Tegrity Farms.
Yeah.
People ain't got Tegrity anymore. Like, there's so many great episodes, though.
It's hard to pick one or two, but yeah, it's the best.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. Like, I mean, and there's people that will say like, "Oh, I only watch Family Guy." I'm like, "Fuck you." like I like Family Guy. I don't have any problems with it, but you can't compare it or say that it's better than South Park.
Family Guy was one of those shows. I remember when I first started watching it in like, I don't know, 6th grade, junior high, stuff like that. It was huge.
Yeah.
It was like the best thing ever. And then I feel like people age out of Family Guy really quickly. And it's still, I mean, it's good. It's still going.
I like it, but it's just
they've got good jokes and stuff like that, but it doesn't make me laugh out loud the way South Park does.
Yeah.
The Simpsons, I've never watched a single episode of The Simpsons.
I never got into Simpsons either. Like, I've seen an episode here or there, but like I mean, it's okay.
I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid. I mean, I wasn't allowed to watch any of these as a kid. But I used to come and spend like a weekend or, you know, a couple days with my aunt in the summers as a kid. And she would let me stay up late and watch South Park. And I remember that was like the thing I was the most excited for. And I mean, I was so young that she took me. I remember one day we watched an episode of South Park. The next day we went to a park and I was on a merry-go-round. And she was just standing there, you know, watching me go around. And every time I came around, I would just go, "They killed Kitty! You bastards!" like that. And then she would be like, she's like, that's a bad word. You can't yell out, "You bastard," like that. And I was like, oh, it is? I didn't know that. But
yeah, I definitely started watching that when I was like, I don't know, whenever it came out, like 11 probably, or 12.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, "Oh, it's just a cartoon. It's fine." And then I'm glad I got to watch them. It was awesome.
Yeah, my aunt bought me a shirt that had Cartman on it, and it just said like, "Mom, I want more cheesy poofs" or something like that. And I thought it was hysterical, so I wore it to school, and I went to a private like Christian school, and we got a letter home that was like, "Hey, this show's not appropriate. It's not allowed at our school," you know. And they were like, "What are you talking about?" It was you know, and then they watched it, or they had my sister watch an episode because my sister, love you, Misha, but she was a narc. All right, she was a narc. She was the kid. Like, she was so good, she got in trouble for spending too much time with her church youth group. They were like, "You're doing too many things at church. You need to branch out and do some other things." And then I was the kid that they were like, "Please go to church. Like, please, like, believe in God." Like, you know, I was the complete opposite. And so she watched like half an episode and then was like, "No, they cuss and they talk about this and they talk about that." And I was in the background just watching, like, "Why do you kill everything that's good?" You know, like, if you could steal a trait from an animal, which one would be the best one? Like cat night vision, being able to fly with, wings or whatever, a dog sense of smell, have a tail, like anything I mean, I'm sure you've never thought about this before, but
I haven't. I don't think I'm gonna just have a random tail. That probably wouldn't be a great one. The night vision thing, I feel like I already have pretty good eyes, so I'm gonna pass on that one.
okay.
Flying would be dope, but do you have to have like wings and fly like a bird, or can you fly like Superman?
That's a good question. No, you got to go with wings. You got to. That always bothered me with Superman, that he could just take off. Like, I don't know. Even as a kid, I remember being like, "How?"
You just
Like,
kick your legs a little or make. I don't
yeah,
know.
like even if he kicked his legs, I'd be more okay with. I'd be like, "All right, he's generating a force, I guess," But like,
he's just Superman. He could do it. Man, if you gotta have wings, I don't know. There's a great Stephen Reich joke. You've probably heard it, but he's like, teacher asked him if he could be any animal, what would he be? And he said a bird. And she's like, oh, so you could fly? Like, no, so my shit would be white. That's how he stuck with me.
There was now that you mention it, I did hear a bit from some comedian. I can't remember who it was, but it was all along the lines of like, how does Superman fly faster?
Yeah,
Does
I
he
think
just
I've heard that
clench
too.
his butt cheeks really hard? Yeah, like that was a great bit.
I think I got one though. That's to answer your question. I'm gonna take the speed of a cheetah,
Okay,
so I could just run 60 miles an hour.
that would be convenient for just yeah, not super long distances, but
Yeah,
from you park your car like at the Funny Bone, you park your car and you've got 500 meters until you get to the door.
yeah.
You could cover that in a couple seconds and just be like, all right, cool. Now I don't have to talk to the homeless people. I'm not going to get rained on. Yeah, like I get you. I'd probably go with cat eyes.
Okay.
Maybe. I thought for
Just
a while.
the look of them.
Just the look. Yeah. Yeah, because really lonely women would just be really no. I think that having a dog sense of smell would be the biggest curse in the world.
Yeah, I don't need that.
To be like, I can smell your socks, your breath, and your asshole right now, and I'm 50 feet away.
Yeah.
Like I'm good on that. I know where every homeless guy has peed for the next quarter mile. Like that's
a curse.
That's a curse. This doesn't really stick with the theme of the questions, but somebody asked me this last night. I can't stop thinking about it. Would you rather be hungry all the time but never have to drink ever again, or would you rather be thirsty all the time but never have to eat again? Yeah.
I feel like, damn, you have to drink water now. I think I would keep drinking.
Okay.
So be hungry all the time.
Be hungry all the time. Okay, so wait. You don't have all right.
Oh,
so
wait, I messed it up.
Yeah, you're never so you'd rather be thirsty all the time but never have to eat again, or you would rather be hungry all the time but never have to drink again?
Whichever one keeps me drinking, I guess.
Yeah.
I think being hungry sucks, but being really thirsty is like more like you can't sweat, you can't go outside, it's more debilitating, I feel like.
That was my answer, was if you're no matter if let's say you haven't eaten in 2 days and you're really hungry,
you're not going to die.
If you get busy enough, you won't you forget about it. You can forget about being hungry. But if you're thirsty, like really everything else shuts down. Nothing else matters until you get something to drink. And I just think that would be torturous to live the entire rest of your life just just like dry mouth and like oh, I can't, like, oh, I'm not hungry at all. I just
for stand up too, you just be like, oh, I can't have a bottle of water on stage.
Your lips stuck to your teeth. You can't get a joke
talk.
out. Yeah, that would be absolutely miserable. Hold on, I got a couple. Oh, best scent combination. If you were gonna pick you could do this either for like a cologne or perfume, or like when you walk into your house, what would be the best thing to hit, like best scent to like hit your nose? What would you?
A combo, so I'm picking two.
You could pick two, or like just. The reason I put combination is because a lot of times when you buy scents now, they're always two different things.
Aloha surprise,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
rain mist, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, cosmic laundry or whatever. You're like, all right.
Oh man, I don't know if it would mix well with anything, but new car smell.
Yeah,
that'd be pretty sweet. I'd take that in my car or in my house, and
it might be a little weird to walk into your house and
new house smell.
Dude, your living room smells like new car.
Yeah, I just bought this house.
Yeah, I just bought it. It's still got
probably gonna wear off.
It's got the new house smell.
Yeah. I also like I don't know how to explain it, but like a gym, like a basketball gym, like not the smell of like a shitty smell, but like if they recently cleaned the floor, or just like the overall. I don't know. Does that make any sense? I don't know how to explain this smell, but like you're going to basketball practice at 6 a.m. for some reason, and then you walk in and it
doesn't sound enticing to be like industrial floor cleaner, but like but no, there is something about that, like the wood of the basketball court plus the Fabuloso or whatever that they used it. You're like, it's one of those smells that like takes you kind of back to your childhood or whatever. Mm-hmm. If I was gonna pick I've always said if I was gonna pick like a cologne, I would want like two almost like opposing smells. Okay. Like a something sweet, like a brown sugar or like a warm vanilla or something, and then like burnt match or campfire or something like that.
Okay.
Could put them together, because it's I don't know. I hate it when you get two things that are like too similar, and then it just feels, I don't know, it feels weird to me. I like the smoky smell, or like I wish you could buy a candle that smells like a burnt match. I don't know if the last time you lit a match was, but as soon as
everybody, that's not for everybody for sure. But I hear you.
I enjoy it. I don't know.
I don't mind it. I feel like you need a scent that captures roasting a marshmallow over a bonfire.
Yeah.
So you get the marshmallow plus the bonfire smell, maybe.
Oh man, this might have just explained a little bit of my psyche, but I remember as a kid I had scented markers, and the black one was toasted marshmallow. And I used to sit in the back of Mrs. Coleman's third grade class and just how long is school? 8 hours a day? Like, I remember coloring the bridge of my nose, like even like a tiny Hitler mustache, but just to get that toasted marshmallow smell. I
think that was actually just a Sharpie you were smelling.
Yeah.
Because I remember those scented markers. I always thought the black one just smelled like shit. I don't
really?
remember. I didn't know it was that. Like,
toasted. Because
the other one that was like purple was grape or whatever. But
I think it was a Crayola brand. Maybe
I had a different, probably knockoff brand that was just like.
What was you remember the Magic marker brands? They were thick.
Yeah.
They were super like big. Those always had the most like intense smell ever, where someone would pop a cap on one of those bad boys and you'd be like, ooh, like
somebody's got a new batch.
Yeah. Kids that were sniffing those are definitely into heroin now. Like, I feel like that's a telltale sign.
There's a couple bad ones that I kind of like gas. I like the smell of gas.
I know.
I don't huff it, but like if I get a waft of gas, or like if somebody does a burnout, I kind of like that burnt rubber smell.
I last weekend right outside they were doing the taco festival.
Oh yeah, we were down here.
It was awesome.
We just went to eat actually at Laura's, or what is it called? Katie's.
Katie's, yeah.
But that was going on right next door, and they sat us outside, and it was like, "Are you ready, St. Louis?" And then we were like, "Oh fuck, this is loud." That was all for it. Like, have your taco fest, but it was a little loud.
I went. Yeah, I'm that way. I'm like, do your thing, but also keep it down.
Yeah, we went inside. And we're like, "Do you have anything inside?" Sorry.
I did walk around and get some tacos though, but I was standing outside and there were so many, trailers and booths and everything. They had generators like all over the place.
Uh-huh.
And the gas fumes were crazy. Like, and then I was standing around and I don't know why. I was like, I'm going to go walk around and I'm going to film a whole bunch of stuff. And then I'm going to make a video and do like some voiceovers. And I was like, I can make a funny video out of this. But I was taking so many videos that after a while I was like, oh man, I'm a little lightheaded. And I was like, I think there's a lot of gas fumes. And then I saw someone pull out a cigarette and I was like, hey, maybe not.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's fine, but also you smell that, right?
Yeah.
Like, you ever seen someone light a cigarette while they're pumping gas?
Oh, yeah.
And you're just like...
That's another piece of shit person right there that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like, you don't care if you blow yourself up or anyone else here.
I don't know. I feel like you should be allowed to spray them with a hose. Like the gas hose. If you see someone pull out a lighter, just give them a quick squirt and be like, all right, go ahead and try it now.
I saw a video, dude. This van pulled up next to his car and was going to rob him. He just took the thing out of his car and started spraying them, and they all left. I was like, damn, that was a good move.
That's so funny. That is a good self-defense, but it is expensive.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, my car didn't get stolen, but I spent an extra $15 just from a quick... That would be hilarious to just stick in somebody's, like, window while it's like, if they're like, oh, really? Okay, here you go. Now the inside of your gas smells like, or the inside of your car. Here, we'll do one more and we'll get out of here. I don't know which the best white trash TV show. Scared Straight, To Catch a Predator, Cops, or Cheaters? Oh, man. Did you ever watch any of these?
I've seen probably an episode of each one, no. I've never, watched more than one of these. I'd say they're all good in their own way. Damn. I've probably seen the most episode of Cops out of these.
Yeah.
But,
it really Cops really set the pinnacle for like trashy reality TV.
Yeah.
And
had a great song. What You Gonna Do?
Oh yeah. I loved it. Nobody ever got on Cops and came out like, oh, this guy just had a bad day. Like that. Yeah. It was always like, oh no. This is one of my favorite episodes of Cops ever. It was just a quick segment in there. So they pulled this guy over for being suspicious, like riding around neighborhoods. And he's sitting there and he's in like an old, like 80s Honda Civic. And he's in the front seat and they shine the light in. And they're like, well, so what are you doing, man? He's like, I was just riding around with my friends. And they look in the back and it's just mannequins. But they're all buckled in with like different clothes. And just the fact that he was like, just riding around with my friends. And then the camera just slowly pans back to like 6 mannequins. I'm like, oh, this guy, arrest this guy. Yeah. I don't think that's illegal, but arrest him.
He's up to something.
He's doing something. Something's illegal.
Yeah, Cops was definitely pre-body cam also. So I'm sure they had a lot of bloopers that were like, oh, well, it turns out that guy didn't do it, and they just beat the fuck out of him. But
I wonder if there was ever an episode where the cop just like turned to the camera guy and was like, yeah, I'm going to need that tape.
Yeah.
Like, you definitely, this isn't live, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cheaters was so much fun. The host got stabbed.
Oh,
so
shit.
That was I don't know if you remember that, but he pulled up. So he was on a boat with his film crew, and they had tracked this guy's wife. She was on another boat with another guy, and I mean small like pontoon boats, not like big yachts. And they pulled up alongside, and they were just like, "Hey, Margaret, we've got your husband here, and we were wondering like that." And the host, without even really like thinking about it or announcing it, just climbs on the other guy's boat, and the other guy's like, "What the hell are you doing, man?" And just like, yeah, and just stabs him.
Oh shit!
Which, don't stab people, but at the same time, like, if I'm on a date and then all of a sudden a camera crew shows up and a guy just climbs on my boat, like, I'm not going to be super friendly about it, But
you think he might back off the stabbing when he saw the 3 cameras on him,
yeah,
whatever?
He might also be like, they're going to get evidence of this.
They're going to probably catch me here. But yeah, that's pretty wild. That show was wild. Like, all those shows were insane. Like, I wouldn't want to be on, obviously, any of these shows.
Oh, no. I remember Scared Straight was basically just for them to show in like 8th grade classrooms, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But there was this one kid who it was just a little fat redheaded kid with glasses, and they took him to a prison, and nothing fazed him. He was just like, whatever, you know what? And they took him to this prisoner, and the prisoner's on the other side of the door, and he's like, man, get in here. Like he basically like, I'm gonna sexually assault you. I'm gonna,
Yeah,
all
sounds
kinds of
about right.
stuff. And they have the door cracked, and they're like, oh, I thought you were tough. Get in there, man. Get in there. And they're like pushing him towards the cracked door. And they're like, get in there. Why can't you get in? Well, why aren't you going in? He's like, I can't. The door's not open all the way. Like that. And I remember them just being like, ooh.
Yeah.
All right.
This
I think we
program
lost
is
this guy,
not
yeah.
going to work on this one.
Yeah, I don't think they made too many episodes after that. But there was one episode where they made all the kids take off their shoes, and a guy just went around and collected the left shoe from every kid and like threw them out a window, like threw them in the garbage or whatever. So they had to walk around all day with just like one shoe.
You might not have saw this one, but do you remember a show called The Repo Games?
No, I never.
I think it was on like Spike TV or something, like when I was in college, but it was fucking hilarious. These two dudes would just go to people's houses to repossess their car, so they would hook it up to the tow truck. They would come out, they're like, what the fuck, you're taking my car. And they're like, well, you're actually on Repo Games. If you get these 5 questions right, we're going to give you your car back.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great. So they would have it hooked up, like the hydraulics under the front of the car. It would be all the way up. If they got one right, it would go down. And then, like, these people mostly were stupid, so they would get them the questions wrong and just take their fucking car away.
There was another one. It was around like his Spike TV, maybe like MTV VH1 era, but it was called like First Date or Bad Date or something like that. But I remember the whole thing was that it was a film crew just recording 2 people on a date, and then there was all these pop-ups that would like show up, and like it was like when clip art just like first came out, I guess. So I mean, it was all like shitty
Like
one-line
pop-up
jokes.
video of a dating show, kind of. Okay.
I remember used to watch that all the time because it was so awkward. It was so weird. It was kind of like Love on the Spectrum, but with like no happiness or joy in it. It was terrible.
They would put anything on in the 90s, man. There's like any kind
yeah.
of game show you got, throw it on. We'll throw it on for 6 episodes, see what happens.
You wanna throw water balloons off a highway overpass? Yeah, go ahead. Why not? I don't understand what's the big problem. All right. Well, we're about to hit hour and a half, hour 20. So the last thing, first off, you want to plug?
Yeah,
anything?
for sure. Back of the Room Podcast. Check it out. It's at Back of the Room Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Got a lot of comedians. We got some fake commercials, some sketch stuff, all that kind of stuff. So it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Got 6 episodes out now. We'll have to have you on there sometime.
Yeah, I'd love to do it, man. I'd love to anytime.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. My Instagram is just Jimmy C. Day and Jimmy Day on Facebook.
Yeah, check him out. I'm sure you've got some shows coming up. Make sure you follow him so you know where he's going to be. Check out his podcast. It looks like a lot of fun. I saw J.R. Brow was on there, but I saw JB was on there too.
Yeah, I just put the one with JB out. Reno Collier, he was on there.
Oh, really?
Got that one coming out soon.
Man, I love Reno.
Yeah,
man.
he's funny, man.
Reno is so funny. I used to work at a club in Cape Girardeau before it went under, and he came through. He was one of the last headliners, I think, that they had before it shut down, and he was so funny. Just every show he did all weekend, it was like 5-6 shows. Every show was different. He was so good at not just crowd work, but he had great bits too. And then at the end of the weekend, I don't know. I don't know if it's inside baseball, if I should show it or not. But end of the weekend, Saturday night, it's late. It's after midnight. He's hanging out with like me, the bartenders, some of the servers, whatever. and he wants to get his check and leave, which, you know, is normal, is not, you know, not anything wrong. But the owner was busy talking to people or whatever, and they were in two separate rooms. So the owner's in this lounge talking to these people. They're playing music, whatever. We're in the showroom just kind of talking shit. Reno hooks his phone up to this Bluetooth speaker and starts playing gay porn over the loudspeakers. Because he wanted the owner to wrap up his conversation and come so he could get paid and leave. And it was so funny because you could hear it in the background. You could just hear like grunting and like slapping noises and stuff like that. And it was
It probably worked. He probably came right over. Yeah.
So well. It worked so well. The people he was talking to, like, they left immediately, and the owner came in and was like, "Who the hell's connected to the Bluetooth speaker?" And Rena's like, "That's me. Can I get my check?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, let's get you out of here." You know, like that. But it was so funny to watch the owner be pissed, thinking it was one of us. And then finding out, he was like, "Oh, Reno. Okay, that's funny." You know, like that. But he was such a great guy, so nice. Every time I've ever talked to him, so cool.
Yeah, he was the man. That should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. So
that's awesome, dude. Oh man, I'm excited. I'll have to check that one out. So check out his podcast, Back of the Room. Check him out on Instagram. What is
Jimmy C. Day?
Jimmy C. Day.
And then just Jimmy Day on Facebook.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last question I ask everybody when they come on is, what would be the best way to improve or fix this podcast? Any suggestions at all?
I think you're doing good, man. Like, you got a good spot here. You're right by the stadium. You could maybe do one of those arm kind of mic holder things.
A lot of people have said that the microphones are there. I think that it's weird. When people come in here, they always talk about the mics first because they're like, "Oh, gold microphone."
No, it's a nice mic. Whoa, it's just I didn't know if I should sit closer to the arm or if I should hold it or what.
You know what's weird is that the microphones were one of the cheapest things that I bought. They're just spray painted gold. It's not like these are actually like 24 karat gold mic. They're just That's just the color they chose. You know, and people think that they're like, "Oh," and then by the end of the podcast, people are like, I don't know. I want to hold something, or I wish there was an arm or whatever. So yeah, that's one thing I need to. It's one thing I need to fix. Cole Young said, "Get a better host." I was like, "Oh, thanks, buddy."
Nice.
But yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, if you ever have a show to promote, or you ever want to come back, I know you've got your own podcast now, but if you ever want to come back, I hope you do.
Yeah, I'm down, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week.